Good morning, everyone. Between family, visiting, travel nightmares, and expensive gifts, the holidays can really take a toll on your mental health. Michael George reports on a survey showing what stresses us out most during the holidays.
For many Americans, the start of the holidays means Santa, shopping, snow, and stress. Are there things that stress you out about the holidays?
Probably just seeing people that I haven't seen in over a year.
Traveling, doing any kind of traveling always stresses me out.
A mental health survey by the American Psychiatric Association finds nearly a third of Americans are more stressed out this year than last holiday season. And the top three sources of anxiety: affording gifts, finding gifts, and the cost of holiday meals.
I think the first thing people can do is acknowledge that it can be a stressful time for a lot of people.
Dr. Howard Liu says the holidays don't have to cause anxiety. He says instead of focusing on spending, focus on spending time with loved ones and lower expectations to make things easier on yourself.
Just making sure that we give ourselves some self-compassion. That's going to be okay. It's okay to turn down some of those invites if they don't give us joy. And it's okay for our household not to look perfect when people come over.
The holidays can trigger isolation, depression, and seasonal affective disorder. It's important to focus on your mental health and take some time to de-stress.
I like an Epsom salts bath. I like to hang out with my cat, listen to really good music, have a glass of wine.
A lot of walks in Central Park to decompress.
Yeah, that's true. We use the park a lot to decompress.
Giving yourself the gift of some personal time can go a long way towards keeping the holidays happy. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
And surprisingly, only a quarter of Americans said that discussing politics with their family causes them stress. Well, about half of adults in this country are experiencing loneliness in some form, and it's not just a mental health issue. Loneliness can put people at risk for all kinds of problems, including heart disease, diabetes, obesity, weakened immunity, and sleep problems. Dr. John LaPook shows us a program that's meant to help.
For these high school teenagers, spending the afternoon with people old enough to be their grandparents is their idea of a good time. Every Thursday, a group from the United Nations International School visits this New York City skilled nursing facility for an afternoon of competition.
Wait, that's not how you spell your name.
And conversation.
Parents want to raise the home.
It's the brainchild of 17-year-old Max Hockman, who started playing chess with his family at the age of 4.
I started thinking about it during the COVID-19 pandemic, when I heard about how my grandfather was kind of feeling lonely. I decided to just pick up the phone one day and call him and ask him to play chess online with me. I saw how that really improved his mood.
That online chess game with his grandfather in Florida has morphed into 60 students visiting 3 facilities every week.
I love all types of movement.
Much to the delight of residents like Lori James.
You know, I'm seeing a lot of talking and very little chess playing. Is that what usually happens with these things?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. Because that's how you connect to one another.
Yeah.
Maria Alomar introduced Daria Murnia to the game of dominoes.
You said to me that the people in East Harlem, is that where you're from?
Yes.
They take dominoes very seriously.
Very seriously.
I won one game, but who's counting?
In between chess moves, Luis Sanchez and Hugo Ilmesen discovered they had both lived in Panama.
I was showing him some photos of me in Panama, and we were talking about it. We speak English, and then sometimes we'll speak Spanish.
You know, there's the desire on their end to have the connection as well. It's not just the residents wanting to connect with the youth, but the youth wanting to connect with them.
Just knowing that there's still genuine young people out there who's willing to, come and sit with us.
Gives you faith?
Yeah.
Dr. John LaPook, CBS News, New York.
The National Poll on Health Aging finds that the number of adults feeling isolated has improved from 2020, but it is still higher than 2018. All right, still to come, a new car is great, but what about those extras? A look at subscriptions, that's coming up next on Mid-Morning. All right, we're back. Taylor Swift is having one of the biggest years in music history. Endless hits, a sold-out world tour, and a concert film. Her success is also making her the subject of new classes at colleges across the country, including a law school. Here's Christian Benavidez.
At the University of Miami School of Law, learning the legalese of intellectual property also means listening to superstar Taylor Swift.
I remember saying to one of my friends, I'm like, man, I bet Swifties know more about IP law than a lot of lawyers.
Adjunct professor and attorney Vivek Jairam came up with the idea while reading about Swift's lengthy, well-documented legal history.
She's been sued twice for copyright infringement, around that song. A theme park in Utah named Evermore sued her for titling her album Evermore.
Intellectual property law is meant to protect the rights of creators, and currently there's arguably no bigger creator than Taylor Swift. Greg Levy is the director of UM's Entertainment, Art, and Sports Law program.
This is core, fundamental copyright, trademark, and business law at play.
Third-year law student Alana Sadler calls herself a Swiftie, a member of Taylor Swift's fan base.
We have a certain conception of what law school is and what the education looks like. And I think that this pushes the envelope.
Dominique Davalier says you don't have to be a Swiftie to take the class.
Definitely more vibe, like ride or die, Beyonce. I was super interested in taking it just because of the practical, real-life application.
And what better way to show them the value of their degree and the things that they've learned than to say, hey, listen, all this stuff you've learned, it literally is front and center in the life and career and work of the most successful artist of our generation.
Law school classes can feel like you're staring into a blank space. Jairam says in his class, you can just shake it off. Cristian Benavides, CBS News, Coral Gables, Florida.
Another topic covered in class is Swift's recent re-recording of her earlier albums to reclaim ownership rights. All right, from streaming services to cloud storage to the travel industry, Americans are bombarded with add-on subscription fees. Carter Evans reports on how automakers are now cashing in on this growing trend.
I can unlock and lock the car.
Jason Liu's 2020 Volvo has state-of-the-art remote features.
Can you start the car? I can't start the car. Apparently you can.
But if he wants to keep using them after a free trial, it'll cost $200 a year.
You bought this car, but you're going to keep paying for it. It's a little disheartening.
Subscriptions are shifting into overdrive. $8 a month for remote start on certain Toyotas, $20 a month for BMW's enhanced cruise control.
It's got some juice.
And on Ford's
all-electric F-150 Lightning.
Hands-free cruise control sure is nice, but are you willing to pay $75 a month for it?
Alistair Weaver, editor-in-chief at Edmunds, says automakers are counting on the new revenue stream to pay for the expensive transition to electric cars.
So if your car payment is $600 a month, it's now $675.
General Motors expects subscriptions to bring in as much as $25 billion a year by 2030, just under what Netflix earned last year.
Part of me says, though, well, you've already bought the hardware, so, just let me use it.
It just really sounds like our cars are becoming more like our phones.
A lot of people in the auto industry certainly use Apple as a shining light on the hill.
Global consulting firm Alex Partners says more than 60% of consumers are willing to consider subscribing for enhanced safety and convenience features, as long as they don't feel like they're being charged for something they already paid for.
The car has to be cheaper, plus this option of subscribing.
And some automakers argue you only have to pay for a feature when you want to use it.
Subscribe to the system, $75, do your road trip, unsubscribe, and then you're no longer paying for something that you're not really going to use.
We reached out to GM, Ford, and Toyota, and they tell us that these subscriptions provide enhanced experiences and drivers can choose to decline them. They say the fees also help pay to develop new technologies. Carter Evans, CBS News, Culver City, California.
Pickleball has arrived as a major sport if arriving means having a giant blimp overhead. Daniel Bacchus explains.
It's the fastest growing sport in America. But this week we saw the game of pickleball reach an even greater height. 1,500 feet, that is, on the iconic Goodyear blimp. The one-on-one match also marks a new peak for the aircraft itself, giving aerial coverage over this weekend's Professional Pickleball Association Tour Finals for the very first time. While drones may dazzle, the blimp paved the way.
We basically invented aerial broadcasting of sports.
Riding the blimp is a thrilling adventure.
Goodyear blimps took their first flight almost 100 years ago, keeping a watchful eye from American skies.
The Blimp Patrol, Death to Submarine.
Over the years, they've been part of the U.S. Navy's defense team in World War II, christened by aviation icons like Amelia Earhart and Sally Ride, and even broadcast emergency signals above natural disasters like Hurricane Andrew in 1992.
The blimp and fly the skyway.
But it was 1955 that marked a new era for the fleet. With the rise of television, Goodyear became the first aerial platform to live broadcast an event for TV. And when the first Super Bowl kicked off in 1967 on CBS,
A super debut for the Super Bowl.
the blimp was there.
We fly over all the largest events.
Taylor Dean has been a Goodyear blimp pilot for 12 years.
Super Bowls, NASCAR World Cups, Stanley Cup, NBA Finals. So if we're there, it's usually a pretty big event.
Now a new game has been added to the roster.
I've driven by the blimp. I've seen it at sporting events.
16-year-old Annalie Waters is the #1 pickleball player in the world.
I've always been like, all right, your sport's kind of made it if the Goodyear blimp comes to it. So I guess pickleball's made it now.
The sport has become a smash hit since the pandemic, with almost 9 million playing across the U.S.
It just kind of exploded. So I was really glad to be a part of it because when I started playing, I was 10 and now I'm 16. So I've kind of grown with the sport.
Pioneers from the court and the sky, elevating the game to blimp-worthy status.
Oh, that's a winner.
Danya Backus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Making music, one family does that by crafting instruments. We'll have their story next on Mid Morning. Welcome back. A Los Angeles-based business has been handcrafting some of the finest guitars in the world for nearly a century while finding a way to give back to the community. Joy Benedict takes us inside Candelas Guitars, where a new generation is carrying on their sounds of success.
It's a soulful sound seeped in history. But for Tomas Delgado, his craft isn't in the strings. It's in the artistry of the shape.
When they come here, they're looking for sound. We're tone chasers here.
For more than 3 decades, this luthier has perfected the tone of thousands of string instruments.
I'm rounding it off a little bit.
Using his hands.
People talk about elbow grease. There's no doubt. You need it here.
And an ear, as every piece of wood, every scrape, every stroke of the sanding molds a different silhouette with a distinct sound for the concert guitar.
It's sound. It's all sound, and it's color. A good guitar will enable you to paint a picture with 300, 400, 500 different colors. An average guitar, it's like me handing you a crayon box with 12 colors.
Art that's been made in this backroom workshop in Boyle Heights for decades.
We've been in business 96 years.
A few steps out of the workshop, and Candelas Guitars displays its history in its showroom as proudly as its instruments.
The first shop that they opened actually in 1932, but the photo's from 1936.
Which makes him a third-generation crafter of all things 6 strings. But with his father and grandfather now gone, he wasn't sure how much longer he could keep up this store. Until his son offered 2 more hands.
There's pictures of me standing here when I was 5 years old.
With a college degree in business, Tomas Delgado Jr. left the corporate world and is now learning this trade from his father.
They can teach you the importance of what it is to own a business and how to run it, but it's another thing to know how to actually do the work, right?
On this day, he was refurbishing a guitar.
This one's my great-grandfather.
And it was made by his great-grandfather more than 5 decades ago.
Unfortunately, I was never able to meet my grandfather or my great-grandfather, but I get to meet their babies, you know? The stuff that they put hands on, and it's sort of cool.
But as rich as the history is in this room, it's the tradition out back that really sets the tone for their future.
This is like my outlet. It seems like everything else around me is just gone. Don't just ignore it for a second, just music.
small break from real life as the Candelas Music and Arts Foundation works with families in this underserved neighborhood, offering free music lessons to students like Isclis Hernandez and Isaías Garcia Suarez.
This is helping me a lot, like so much. I have no idea what music was when I got there.
When he first walked in these doors, he was in high school. Now both these young men are first-generation college students. A sound that rings success for this business owner and father.
It's a blessing that I learned how to play guitar to help me build better, but I don't consider myself a musician.
But he is an artist.
So you listen to the sustain, the color.
A tune technician whose skillful hands and devoted heart will hopefully keep the music playing in this neighborhood and all over the world for another 96 years. Joy Benedict, KCAL News.
Coming up, it's like staying overnight in a Hallmark movie. We'll show you where when Mid-Morning returns. Welcome back. In Paris, construction of the new Notre Dame Cathedral spire has cleared a major hurdle. A replica is taking shape in the city skyline. CBS's Elaine Cobb has more on what's on the horizon.
For the first time in nearly 5 years, the outline of a spire is again visible in the skyline above Notre Dame. Workers on scaffolding high above Paris are installing the new spire's wooden framework on the cathedral roof. It was April 2019 when fire engulfed the cathedral. The world looked on in horror as the spire, made of oak and metal, collapsed in the flames. Teams of architects and artisans have been working tirelessly to rebuild the spire to its original 19th century design. Architect Axel Poncenet has been reproducing the spire's decorative finishings.
It's a very complex structure, and never today we are rebuilding such structures. And what's amazing is that we are really trying to be very specific in the way we rebuilt it.
Workers continue to set the oak framework of the 300-foot spire in place, shaping the outline that's been missing from Paris since the fire.
The framework will be covered in a sheath of metal and the decorative finishings added. The cage of scaffolding will remain in place while that work is completed. Then the spire will rise again over Paris. Work on the rest of the cathedral continues too. The public authority overseeing the reconstruction says it is on track and the cathedral will be ready to reopen to the public a year from now. Elaine Cobb, CBS News, Paris.
Well, this time of the year, most hotels roll out lavish decorations and some offer extra special suites to really immerse guests in the holiday spirit. Wendy Gillette reports from New York on a few places to find that holiday cheer.
Flip a switch to turn on the magic of Christmas inside this suite at the Hilton New York Times Square, surrounded by walls adorned with peppermints and jars full of all-you-can-eat candy, washed down with liquid treats from a hot cocoa bar. What's on TV is equally sweet after a spin at Christmas karaoke. Holiday love stories on the Hallmark Channel.
I'm going to meet his parents for the first time.
The Hallmark Channel Countdown to Christmas suite, featuring an equally decked out bathroom and bedroom, is also available at Hilton Americas Houston and Hilton Chicago.
It's truly magical. If you walk in here, you can just feel the spirit of the holidays.
Here in New York City, there's also the FAO suite at Omni Berkshire Place. It's filled with toys from nearby FAO Schwartz, including one that helps guests recreate the iconic scene from the movie Big.
Kids or kids at heart enter a monster of a room. 1,300 square feet filled with a curated collection of toys from the famous store.
This is the hardest place in New York City to leave for children. Once they come to the hotel and experience the suite, they don't want to go home.
Toy soldiers watch over fresh cookies and milk for Santa. And there's a bottle for the older set to enjoy while listening to records of Christmas classics. If If a Chicago Christmas puts a fire in your heart, the 2,000 square foot presidential suite at Swiss Hotel, where we stayed for a special rate, offers 17 festive furs, styled to fit this year's holiday jewel theme.
We were looking for something that was fun and bright and colorful.
The room gets cozier to settle in for a long winter's night with a cocoa from the Build Your Own bar and view of the sparkling city. Morning brings a personal breakfast buffet for a very merry wake up in the 41st floor perch. Wendy Gillette, CBS News.
And the FAO Schwartz Suite in New York City is available year-round. Now, take a look at this. Airbnb wants to host one family in the North Pole, maybe about as close as you can get. The company is giving away 3 nights at a cabin that's decked out in Christmas decor in northern Finland. It's called Santa's Cabin, and it's located in the town of Rovaniemi. The town has what it calls the official Santa Claus post office, and the winners can volunteer to help sort through thousands of letters that are sent there. They'll even be supplied with elf attire to help get into the spirit. Sounds like a lot of fun. All right, if you want a holiday outing closer to home, try Chattanooga. Santa Scuba Claus is once again taking time to visit the Tennessee Aquarium and take a dip in some of its largest exhibits. Donning his fins and scuba gear, St. Nick will make weekend dives in the River Journey building. These special events will occur at 2 p.m. on Saturdays and Sundays, leading all the way to Christmas. And we'll be right back to wrap things up. Stay with us. All right, we're leaving you this morning with a look at the Amory Christmas Parade. It was earlier this week with Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus, and our very own McKinley Dean and Grace Brister were there also. People who live and work in Monroe County were ready to be part of a joyful occasion between storms and cleanup this year. It has been tough for those there who live there. That's why it's great to see so many happy faces along the parade route. All right, and we're all out of time. We'll see you back here next time. Have a great rest of your day.